All right, everybody, welcome to another episode of Navigating the Intentional Life. I'm Jesse Copeland. And you see on the screen here, I've got the man, the myth, the legend. I'm super stoked to have him back because our first podcast, man, we went an hour and about 45 minutes. And it wasn't enough time. It was not enough time. So the guy that I've got back here, as you see, is Boydmyers. Boyd, great to have you, buddy. I'm stoked to sit down and kind of finish up get back through into the story that we started last time. How you doing this morning, man?
Man, I'm good, brother. Got my workout in. I'm hydrated. I'm fed. Ready to rock, brother.
Yeah, dude. I noticed you're rocking that white Monster. I used to drink those pretty hardcore. My new poison of choice is this Zions. I usually get the fruit punch, but man, they've been out. Like it's going out of stock, food shortage kind of thing over here. So
yeah, funny that I used to drink that. Like years ago, probably. 10 years ago, I think.
Well, dude, it used to be a sponsor in the UFC. I don't know if it still is.
But yeah, I don't know.
I used to hate it. And I used to kind of I tried the Red Bulls and I really did not like energy drinks. And then I found this one because, man, I can't do coffee. I mean, I'll have coffee every now and again, but man, I'm a gulper. You know what I mean? Like, I don't want to wait. I don't have to sip on something. And I can't tell you how many times I've freaking burnt my tongue off because I'll go in for a big sip of coffee and it just gets me. But I had to get it this morning, man. Had to get it. I was up at 5, got a little gym time in as well. I almost messaged you like, how many miles have you already done? I know it's late. I know it's 5 a.m. How many miles have you gotten done already?
Man, well, today I decided to hit a lift, right? So I'm 101 days out of my next race. So I am coming out of like a lot of strength training. I'm going to keep that to under 3 times a week, probably 2 times a week, just for the foreseeable bit, right? And start into the endurance. But I did get my lift in this morning. As you know, I like to run after it warms up, right? So I figured it was just perfect timing. I could do this. I mean, you're in Texas as well, so I think it's already 90 out right now. So give me an hour, and we should be pushing 100. We are on a heat advisory today. 110. I'm thinking about hanging out till noon or 1, do some work, and then going out and put down, I don't know, probably it's going to be a light like 8 miles, considering on Monday morning I ran 33. So We'll see.
I saw that, dude, and I know I told you I've started running. I signed up I'm signing up for the half marathon in October, right? Which is light work for you guys, I know, but I joke about that, but everybody starts somewhere. Right. And I can tell you right now out of the gate, I hate running. I don't care if I grew up playing soccer or not. I absolutely hate running. And I don't know if it was you. I mean, I started kind of going, man, I need to get more cardio in. But I signed up for this half and I've been running about 3 miles every night. Because I'm not going to lie. Like I started dealing with shin splints. Talked to you about that a little bit. Kind of readjusted how I was running, like foot strikes, stuff like that. And man, we're getting there. I'm hitting those 3 fairly consistently. I'm not at that pace. Like I started to feel good. And then Chris or you will post something about your freaking mile times that you're running for 6 miles. I'm like, shit, I got to shave off 1.5 minutes just to keep up. And then I got to add 5 more miles just to stay with them. You know what I mean? But I got to tell you, it's something that mentally, it's been one of the best things I started doing because I don't want to do it. But I'm getting to a point where I'm starting to enjoy doing it. Getting that sweat on, doing it in the heat. I started off on the treadmill because of the shin splints. And I was like, no, get out. Because you're not going to be running this half. You're not going to be running this other stuff that you're going to start doing on a treadmill. Get out, get the sweat in. That Texas heat between 2 and 5, top peak condition. You know what I mean? So I've been loving it. I've absolutely been loving it. But I think that challenge mentally is something that, not enough people do it. They don't find that thing that goes, this makes me really uncomfortable. You know what I mean?
Yeah, man. Most of the people in the fitness space, especially on Twitter, they become, they've just become so anaerobic and, they convince themselves running is bad for you, that it sucks. People get injured doing it. Well, people get injured doing it because they don't fucking do it, right? Running's first off, there's a couple things to piece up here, man. First off, it's the most natural exercise we do. We don't survive and evolve as humans if we don't run, okay? But second, it is, once you haven't done it, it becomes the ultimate physical expression of mental toughness, right? Because Dude, I don't know about this runner high bullshit. I just said I ran 33 miles. There was not one point, and I was pacing a guy that had never run more than 10, right? So that gave me an extra lift, but I couldn't run my normal pace. I was running slower, and that fucked me up, right? Running. I was like, dude, I want to go because I want to finish, right? Because at no point, and we'll talk about some of the runs I put down. At no point can I honestly say that I've never felt a fucking runner's high. I'm always thinking, yeah, this is cool, great miles. I want it to fucking end, right? And that's why I do it.
Yeah, it's kind of a good segue there because last time we spoke, you share the story about kind of where all this started, as far as what people on Twitter now see as Boyd and the message you're putting out. I mean, I know that you've caught on to what some of these guys on the Twitter space are doing in the fitness industry. Very clearly don't agree with their message, but just kind of as a recap of that. I mean, you've done it all, as far as, especially with fitness goes. You've been a part of a little bit of everything. Obviously, first and foremost, your service as a veteran in the Air Force. From there, you go powerlifting, bodybuilding, owned your own gym, and then shit changed. Sell the gym, get complacent, and just flat out, you'd probably put it even more brashly, but got lazy. Put everything aside, maybe going through some shit, maybe not, but just got lazy, got into the hamster wheel that is life. And fast forward 5 years after that, you're sitting there in a hospital bed with your ticker about to explode and thought, shit, I got to do something. Fast forward through all of that. And again, if you haven't heard this podcast, the first part, this is part 2. So you're missing a big chunk of this story if you're just now tuning in. But, you decide, hey, I'm going to go run. That thing that's supposed to be so natural damn near broke you mentally the first time you tried to do it, but it didn't. You said, no, I got to stick to this. I've got to make this change. Fast forward even further, you've done a Spartan race with your son, which is an emotional story. And I love that story. Fast forward to that, you sign up for an Ironman, not realizing the miles that you're going to have to put in. I think you cut everything in half. No, I got this. Which again, most people go, I don't even want to run a 5K, let alone an Ironman, which is everything. And then you compete in your first Ironman and you finish. And you finish in a way that is typical to you. Do the swim without goggles, find your goggles again after the fact, right? Which is crazy in and of itself. And the melee that apparently, and I didn't know this. Like I was telling Chris Betcher yesterday, dude, I didn't know how violent this shit could be. When I listened to the Zoom call that you guys did with the guys that are signing up for Waco, and we'll get to that, but these guys are telling their stories and like having the extra bag packed and all the extra stuff they need. I'm thinking like, hey, you get in the water, you get on your bike and you put your shoes on and you run. Not knowing like there's a fucking like tactical aspect to this that you've got to look at. But you get it done, you finish, and that's actually kind of where we left off on that last podcast. But from there, things have changed, right? So pick up for me kind of after that initial Ironman, you got your buddy, you guys finished together, you got to give him his medal, and that it didn't end there. You weren't just like one and done. Hey, I did this. Congrats, I got the shirt. Let's go back to normal life. Let's start from that last Ironman. Let's move forward.
Yeah, man. So one of my things is do more, right? For me, Ironman wasn't the end of the road, right? All that did was, hey, it gave me a new floor. It wasn't my ceiling at all. So I knew I was capable of doing more. Now, more, I can define that in a lot of different ways, right? I can go faster in one. I can do a longer triathlon. I had the possibilities were endless, right? So soon after, I mean, so it was November 24th, right? 2019, right? So we roll into January, the holidays hit and all that, right? But I'm still like focusing, I'm going to do something, right? So last day of the year, I decide, you know what, man, I have fucked around long enough, right? I mean, nothing had changed. I was still working out like a monster. I mean, I never backed off Ironman training, right? So I decide I got to see how long I can sit on this fucking bike, right? And I don't have a lot of hours of daylight, right? So I was like, well, let me think how I'm going to do this. So I at that point I had sold my road bike and I only had my tri bike, right? And I was like, let me figure what I want to do. So I connected my tri bike to my trainer, right? And then some people, if you don't know, if you've never been on a trainer, dude, a trainer is infinitely fucking worse than getting outside, because on a trainer you have to pedal to get miles, right? On a outside, you can fucking coast downhill. You see different shit, right? So I get on my trainer, my bike trainer. I mean, and that thing doesn't go left to right. I mean, now I've got it set up to where it does, but it didn't then. It was fucking static, right? And the last day of the year, I rode 238 miles in one day straight. And I talk about Ironman, right? And people that don't know, an Ironman's a 2.4 mile swim, a 112 mile bike ride, and a marathon. Any of those things in and of itself is a fucking long day, right? The swim's not long time-wise. That's a long fucking swim. 112 mile bike ride. I remember when I'd go out and ride 100 miles before that, right? It was a fucking day, right? And a marathon, I mean, again, that's people train their whole lives for that. So I decided, you know what? I started just doing the math. I'm like, yeah, I think I can. I said, I think I can keep up for, I don't know. Let me see. Let's see what I can do in 12 hours. Right. And man, I had internet connectivity issues that day. I mean, whatever. Right. So that was just fucking more frustrating. Right. I'm on the same. So I just sit there all day long, man. I got up at 6 a.m. I got all dressed in my best cycling gear and I sat there and pedaled for fucking forever. Right. And I averaged, by the end of the day, it was down to about 16 and a half miles per hour, way off what I would normally go. But man, I'll sat on that damn thing pretty much all fucking day. And my ass, I was bleeding. I mean, I tore fucking loose, right? I mean, it was bad, right? So it's like saddle sores don't do justice to what I had. But man, I just decided, I was like, you know what? I was like, I'd never ridden more than 100 and probably 130 miles. I was like, fuck that, man. So I went 100 miles past further than anything I'd ever gone on a bike.
Dude, the significance of that, if you've never jumped on a bike and rode a great distance, that, what you call it, that saddle soreness.
Yeah.
That's just ass chafing. Freaking, you got to build calluses. I tried back in probably around 2010. Neighbor of mine was into it. He talked me into doing it. I was like, man, I'm going to do something different. You know, I think I'd kind of started to dabble with CrossFit, and I was like, I want to do something different. I want to challenge. You know, how many miles are you riding regularly? And he was like, oh, you know, he was an older guy, but he was like, oh, 40, 50 miles, you know, something like that. I mean, you know, on a bike, I get how that can probably go by seemingly fairly quickly if you're kind of seasoned to it. You know what I mean? And even I was thinking 40, 50 miles, shit. Like, I don't think I've ever done anything endurance wise over 10, you know? And so we jump on this bike, dude. And I think we rode 15 miles that day because I was having troubles with the clicking in and clicking out. You know, when I was stopping, like my foot was getting stuck. I was like, shit, I'm going to eat it. You know, like I was just struggling a little bit with that at first, but he gave me the little freaking bike shorts with the maxi pad in it. And I still, man, like I came home and for days after that, my ass was hurting. And that was 15 miles. So I can't imagine sitting on that bike for 50, 100. Now I'm going to get there. But a lot of the times, the guys that I've spoken to, because I've got a few friends that they do tries and they've done Ironman, and I've got a good buddy of mine actually I grew up with. He'll be at Waco. He said, no, you've got to just push through that ass soreness. You've got to essentially build up those calluses in your gooch so that you can freaking get used to that bike seat and riding from there. So, I mean, the significance of that, there's so much that comes into play in doing these things that your body goes through that I don't think a lot of people even begin to think about what your body deals with and something like that. The question I do have for you with that, when it comes to the bike time, what is the average, or we'll say, what is your average bike time for the full stint on the bike in an Ironman? Like, how long does that mileage typically take?
Well, my first one was about survival, right? But I mean, even with that being said, I still did my first bike in the Ironman in 6 hours, right? 112 miles I did in 6 hours. Which for a beginner, remember, I had never been on a bike till like fucking April of that year, right? So in 7 months, 6 hours, and I'm not one of these like 140-pound cyclists. I mean, I'm still at this point, I was 200 pounds, right? When I raced. Right now, I'm about 210. To give you an idea, though, like, and we'll get to this, but man, I like toward the end of the last year, I really started focusing on like, okay, time to get fucking serious, right? I'm going to do something. I don't know what. So I decided I was going to ride this shit ton of miles in November and December, right? I'm just going to freaking just rack miles. I mean, the goal's 50 to 100 miles a day, and I might take 2 days off the whole fucking month of December, right? So I just start putting down just crazy, crazy, crazy miles. And I just, all of a sudden, I realized, now, because at this point, I've gone to the power pedals, I'm measuring power. I know the scientific approach to it. It's not just get on there and suffer. And I can go fast and my heart rate stays low, right? So back in March, man, I decided, I was like, hey, because at this point I'd already committed to what's coming next for me, right? Let me see what I can do 100 in. So I strapped in, calibrated everything, put down, and I was like, if I had the math in my head, I was like, if I can keep this, yeah, I can do something. So I did 100 miles in 4 hours and 22 minutes, right? So tack that on. I could get that. First off, I could have cut, and at this point, I was only eating meat. I wanted to see if I could do it on just fucking meat, no carbohydrates. I was fine. And I realized, I like look back at some of the things. I held back too early. I had a lot in the fucking tank still. And I started doing the math, and I was like, you know what? I've got a legitimate chance of being able to do an Ironman ride in under 440, right? I mean, a legitimate chance, right? Because I'm not even on my fucking high-end bike doing this. I'm on a fucking much lesser bike, right? And I'm not in fucking Ironman training at this point, right? I've only been riding the bike, but yeah, man, but I mean, that like a lot of weight training went into that, a lot, a few years now, because we remember now I'm heading into my third year post Ironman, right? Mm-hmm. My first one. So everything changed, man. So now it's not, so I'm not worried about survival. Now I can freaking thrive that distance, right? So, I mean, now 112 miles, give or take, I think I can go 430, 440.
See, and that's the thing that I want to hit home here is, this time that you're doing this stuff, it's not like you're getting paid to train. There's nobody sponsoring you. There's nobody saying, hey, man, we want you to put every minute that you've got into your diet, into the fitness aspect of it, into the science aspect of this, into the tactical aspect of this. Here you go. Have at it, Boyd. Now you're still working. You're still a dad. You've still got regular everyday life things that we all deal with, paying a mortgage, paying your car insurance, all of that stuff. You're still having to work and fit in this training.
Yeah, man. And my days were long, right? Because I'm in home sales. So I mean, at that point I was, right? So as we got toward the end of the year and I'm putting those days down, I still had to be basically at a community or in a neighborhood by like 9 or 10 in the morning, right? So that meant, I'm up 3, 4 in the morning. Let me put out. Let me get my bike. Let me get my ride in, right? And if I didn't do it, I thought about that shit all day long to the point where I'd get home and be like fucking fired up, like let's go. And it was usually on those days. So I figured the easy way out on that would be let's make this a shorter day, man. I didn't do it earlier. It's late. I'm not going to sleep. No, man, fuck that. Those were usually the days I was like, yeah, man, let's most motherfuckers would do 50 miles. Let's go ahead and knock 100 out.
Dude,
right?
And that's something too that I don't know that a lot of people understand. And I think it's a sad thing. And we talked the last podcast that we did about obsession. And I felt like, I titled that last podcast Methods to Madness. Not because I see any of this as madness, but other people will. Other people do. They've said as much, because what they don't understand is that when you fully commit to something, it does consume you. It absolutely consumes you. And it can be unhealthy. Like some people, they take it, I'm not going to say too far, but it messes with the relationships. It messes with jobs, things of that nature. I can tell you that since I started this podcast and the other things that we've got going on, man, I wake up early because once my brain engages, I can dream about it. And I go, all right, we got to get up. We got to do this. You know, it's almost 7 o'clock now. And I've been thinking about this podcast with you since last night, you know, since the other day, whenever we got it put down, this is when we're doing this. And I'm thinking about things that I want to do with this on a regular day in and day out basis. I've got to start work today at 9. And all I could think about was this. And the point is not to toot our own horns, but for other people to go like, look, when you actually commit to something, you're going to have that feeling where it's like, oh my God, like I haven't done this thing today. I can't wait to do it. And then once you get that fixed, you're like, I want to do it again. You know, and I don't think enough people get that, right? There's too much complacency. Guys are flaccid now today in their lives as far as how they approach it, how they look at it, right? They play it simple, they play it safe. And for me, I look at that as like one of the biggest underlining issues with men today, and why marriages are falling apart, why the suicide rates are so high, why so many guys are freaking alcoholics. I'll talk about this day in and day out. Is like, man, if we would do stuff like this, where you go, I'm committing a big portion of who I am because I believe in this so strongly. I literally can't sleep because of it. You know, I think it changes a lot. And so that point there is like, that's why I asked, like, you have to still work while you're doing this. So there's no fucking excuses. Right. You don't have some special setup that is allowing you this time. Now, that being said, because of the work, because of the obsession, you've been able, and we'll get to this, but you've been able to work it into now where you're going, my obsession has allowed me to take complete control of my life. My obsession has allowed me now the opportunity where I can devote my time to this obsession at any time of the day that I want to. And we'll get to that because that's a freedom that you only obtain by fully putting yourself into a passion. You know what I'm saying? So that said, you know, you've started this, the bike aspect of it, right? The mentality has obviously shifted as far as how you see yourself, what you're wanting to show your son, what you're wanting to show your little girl. Because I don't correct me if I'm wrong, but she's pretty young at this point. Because I think she was just born around the first Ironman. Am I right?
Yeah. So you kind of teed me up perfect there on accident. So, okay. So she's about 6 months. And remember, my now ex-wife, Lisa, she's still suffering from this injury. So at the end of January, keep in mind what we're thinking, January 2020, I'm looking for the next fucking thing, man. I'm like, I got to do something else. I've got this momentum and I'm unfucking stoppable in my mind, right? So we had this big company trip in February, January, end of January. We land in the Dominican Republic I'm a Hall of Famer of this company that I work for, right? And so the last time they seen me was a month into my fucking journey, right? I'm saying I'm going to do an Ironman. I'm saying I'm going to do all this shit, right? I'm fired up, but they don't see how I see me at this point, right? I thought, and I look back at pictures, I'm like, oh, I still kind of look the same, right? But in my mind, I was fucking different, right? So now we're a year later, and now I've done the Ironman. They all fucking know it, right? And there's one of the board members of this company that's a public company, right? He's an Ironman. This guy races Kona and stuff. And he does the welcoming thing, right? And I don't know. So the first day we're there, there's, you know, I think we had like 2,000 people there. And he said, hey, real quick, before we get started, Boyd Myers, you are an Ironman. And I had never spoken to this guy. He's like, that's what goals are about, right? So now, man, we have celebrities there. Gary Sinise is coming and everything, but motherfuckers are lining up to talk to me, right? So now people see me this year the way I saw myself the year before that they did not see yet. So
now they're on board with it. Now
yeah.
On board with it. Now they're like, yeah, dude, totally knew you could do it.
Yeah, exactly. They all fucking knew. They all knew, right?
Hey, we knew you were going to finish it, Boyd. But again, if you didn't listen to the first podcast, that was not the case.
No.
They were giving you shit the first go around when you said, hey, I'm doing this.
Yeah, so it was just wild, right? So now I'm like, I'm borderline celebrity, right? So which was, it was neat, but I didn't give a fuck about that. It's not why I did anything, right? So the day we land there, we find out Kobe Bryant has been killed in a helicopter crash, man. And that's somebody fucking from a mental standpoint that I fucking thought the world of, man. I studied that fucking guy, right? That like that image of when I can't think of his name, when he throws the ball at his face and he doesn't even blink, bro. I was like, that's me, motherfucker. So I fucking that we go out like, you know, that night's a greedy night and everybody's getting fucked up, you know, and we just kind of walk and we're Hard Rock in the Dominican. Everybody's going to the casino. Man, I ain't doing all that, man. I'm relaxing. I'm having a good time. But dude, I'm thinking, hey, I got to get up in the morning and put the fucking miles in, bro. I'm in fucking paradise. I'm going to run here. So I get out that first day, man, and it's hot, humid and shit already. And we've been in the winter in Texas. And I get out and I'm like, nah, man. So I go out and run like fucking 16 miles. I felt like I ran to fucking Haiti and back, right? And I'm just all over the place. And I come up, my CEO and president are both, they're walking out and I'm just like, and I'm shirtless. I mean, I'm totally different than I was the year before. Right. And they're looking at me and they're like, they want to like just fucking talk. They're like, yeah, and these guys are busy men, right? And they're like, they want to talk about everything, right? So we had another like morning meeting, right, with the whole company, and they spend 10 minutes talking about that. And I just thought like, holy shit, man, this is like leaving a mark on people that I never fucking even knew, thought they knew I was doing it, right? Right. So we come back through Miami, and now I'm like, fuck. I mean, I ran every fucking day. I go out, I swam in the ocean and stuff. I did everything but ride. Didn't have a bike when I was there, right? But man, I had an amazing time. We come back through Miami on Super Bowl weekend, right? And I remember this. I remember it distinctly, right? I'm in the international terminal. The Super Bowl is in Miami this year. And I remember, and then this is when the rumbles of COVID had started, right? And I remember on that plane and in that airport, every motherfucker in that airport was coughing. I thought, here, the flu's coming. I mean, it's light flu, right? Right. I had no idea that less than 45 days later, the world was going to change. And I mean, forever, right? So all I'm thinking about is what's fucking next? What's next, right? I've applied for some of these races you have to apply to get into. I got a waiver to do Ultraman, right? Which is, let me think I'm gonna get it right. And I'd never done shit, right? I mean, I'd never done any crazy swimming. So it was a 6.2 mile swim plus let me get my miles right on. I don't even remember now. 90-mile bike ride on day one. Day two was a 170-mile bike ride. Day three is a double marathon, right? I know I'm right on the swim and the run. The bikes I may be off on. So I get a waiver to do that, right? And I'm like, fuck it, I'm in. And it's self-crewed. There's no fucking. I mean, it's over 3 days, right? So right. In some cases, some people say it's actually not as bad as some other races because you do get to go home and sleep in a fucking hotel every night, right? Right. So I'm jacked. I've got the opportunity to potentially do that, and then we know what fucking happens. So first thing I do, so this is funny. The first thing I do, we're in February, right? I call a buddy and I'm like, hey man, you still got your fucking raft? He's like, yeah, man, what's up? I said, I need you to freaking crew me. I'm going to go out for a swim. He's like, how far you want to swim? I'm like, I don't know, but I need you to go and I got to do it in a lake. He's like, okay. So we go out and I swam the 10K. I was like, fuck it, in a wetsuit. And he's like, he said he was getting more tired sitting in that fucking boat than I was being. And I just wetsuit shredded me. I was all freaking ripped up, like, fucking bloody and stuff. But I was like, hey, I needed to know I could do it, right? And I really hadn't done a ton of swimming. I swam in the Dominican, but I hadn't been doing a ton of swimming. So to go out and be able to do that, and I was like, oh yeah, fuck man. Yeah, it's all different now. There's nothing I can't do.
Yeah, and to that swim point, back in the early 2000s, it was just after 9/11. I was out in New Jersey, and the two guys that I stayed with were Division I swimmers at Rutgers, and the amount of effort that it takes, the amount of endurance and stamina that you have to swim is incredible. I mean, I thought we joking offline. I hate running, and I grew up playing soccer my whole life. I've tried that swim. I've tried to hit the marks that these guys were hitting. And I tell you right now, like I thought I was going to drown. That's not open water. That's a controlled environment, controlled pool. It's all nice and fresh and clean. You're not worried about anything that wants to eat you from below. Like it's safe. It's easy. It's nothing like I've yet to do an open water swim. because Ironman honestly, you know, is somewhere where I would like to go. That's I think in my mind where I'm starting to really start to grab onto. Is this something that I want to put in? But that open water swim, I think about that. There's one in Galveston in 23. I've been out there, man. Like I'm sitting there going, man, there's bull sharks. There's all kinds of shit in that water. You know what I mean? Like, I don't know. But the point of that is like, there's a whole nother level to open water swimming that people that might swim in the pool probably don't have an understanding of, as far as how that takes a toll, how that works on the body, how that works on the mind, all that good stuff. So like, it's no fucking joke. I just went and jumped into the lake and decided to swim.
Yeah, man. So speaking of that, right? So I still have effects of something that happened. So we were swimming, me and a group. I went out with a group, right? And we were doing it like almost Ironman style. So we were in a tight group. We're tight. We want to ride off each other's, wake and all that. Mm-hmm. And I can't remember. I can't remember if I swallowed a bunch of water or whatever, but I coughed. I kind of pulled up on a buoy. No big deal. Let me just get straight. We weren't racing so much. So I wasn't like, fuck it. I can take a break for a second. And then I decided I'm going to catch these fucking guys, right? Because they got away, and I just start banging. Dude, I feel some shit, right? I get tangled up in something. I don't know if it was a nutria or a fucking beaver, but that damn thing was as big as I was, and it was fucking hairy, bro. And I freaked the fuck out. I don't want to touch anything in the water. Mm-hmm. But we're Lake Louisville up here in Denton County, and there are fucking alligators in that lake. They're spotted all day. We're idiots. They're like, oh, they swam up. And I'm like, nah, motherfucker. These people had them as pets. It's like, fuck it, let them go. I know what's happened, right? So, dude, that motherfucker, it touched me. It was all over me, and I saw it. I saw its head, right? Man, I fucking turned toward the beach. I mean, and we were parked way back. I didn't give a fuck. I was getting out of that water. That was probably the best like 200 yards I've ever swam. I was terrified, and it fucked me up to get back in open water. But I knew I had to do it, right? Because I was like, man, fuck this. I did go to the fucking other lake north, right? So yeah, man, it'll fuck you up, man. Yes, that is a very real thing. People start thinking about fucking bodies and shit and Jason Voorhees and fucking sharks, and you're in a lake and alligators and stuff, man. People freak the fuck out in open water. It's no joke.
Yeah, no, I mean, and rightfully so. I mean, I'm sitting there looking at like, do I, if I did this one in Galveston, that would be my first one in Galveston in the Gulf. I'm saying, no, I need to do the one that's like in the woodlands where they swim in the bayou. But then even then I'm thinking, I'm pretty sure there's alligators there. So, fuck all that. But I mean, it's a real deal that you have to deal with. And I actually, one night I got curious. I was like, I wonder if anything's ever happened to somebody in an Ironman, with the exception of like, not them internally, a cramp or something happens, but I mean like something like in these open waters across the world. Has anybody ever been attacked by anything? I couldn't find anything.
No, there've been several drownings, right? But I don't think there's ever been a fucking alligator shark attack, thankfully. But I guarantee you, I haven't done one in the ocean yet, right? So I look wounded, so.
It's not like you're out there swimming by yourself. I mean, I know it gets to a point where the herd kind of thins out.
Right.
But you're talking about what, 2,000 people in some of these? Yeah. You got a shit ton of splashing going on. I think anything in the water is going, get me the fuck out of this area. This isn't normal. Not going to come check this out. But yeah, I mean, that's a real thing. So kind of staying on point. I mean, again, one of the things that like when we talk, so much that I can put any kind of cute spin on this that I want to, but the reality is that if you're listening to this, so much of this is mentality. Like, don't miss that point. It's fitting that you brought up Kobe Bryant. It's fitting that the story about this manatee, beaver, freaking alligator thing has come to play, a Yeti out in the water. Like, it's all mentality. So, while you're listening to this, keep this in mind, because there's no fucking excuses being made here. Right. There's no special like, hey, this made it easier. I had this extra advantage. I mean, this is straight up just work, and work in the sense that I'm not just sharpening my body. The biggest thing is I'm sharpening my mind right now. And kind of the phases of this that are happening that I'll lay out is, you went from people that doubted you that you had to deal with. Now, you in your mind, you were strong. You're like, no, I am an Ironman, even though you hadn't finished it yet. You finish it. And now here's this thing of like, I don't have to just survive now. Like I can thrive in this, but I've got more work to do. There's more challenges ahead that I want to take on. And so that belief system starts to grow. And you don't know that. You don't know that you didn't know that that was going to happen. You didn't know how you were going to see things. You didn't know how people were going to respond to what it is that you had accomplished, right? Because everybody wants to jump on board once they see the success of it, right? Like, yeah, man, I knew the whole time. But you've now built this, the discomfort zone is expanding to a point where like, hey, you're ready to take on anything. And now we're sitting here looking at an ultra.
Yeah. So moving forward there, man. And that's like, I was like, all right, I guess I got to figure this freaking Ultraman shit out. Right. So obviously March hits, the world fucking stops, man. And your first thought is, man, are we all going to fucking die? Right. Because there was tons of fear and nonsense. Right. My birthday's March 16th, and we went and people were mad. I think if I remember correctly, because we went to an arcade. My son and my then wife went to an arcade. And I think we had to wear masks, but I may be off on that. Right? It was highly recommended, right, or whatever. But we had a baby. I was more concerned with how do I keep them safe, because if this thing's fucking just knocking motherfuckers out like those videos were showing, right? Mm-hmm. I mean, I can't stop that, right? I remember that helpless feeling. We all know how that went, right? I mean, whatever. I'm not going to get deep into that, but I talked about in the first one, my wife had gone through a serious injury. That just caused a huge rift between us. Me training for an Ironman didn't help that, right? And then the financial issues that came along with, of medical, an insane amount of medical bills, and me not being able to work. So me not being able to work may have helped me train for an Ironman a little bit, but there's a big ass piece of that where, I could not go because I had to help with her. And so, I mean, we had kind of started to deteriorate. And then by the time the COVID, first the stress of that, we were the first original COVID separations, right? Mm-hmm. So we decided to take a little time apart, which did ultimately end up in us not remaining married, which was those those things, man. But I mean, we there was never a blow up, there was never anything bad, but we just realized we're going to be better as co-parents than we are as husband and wife, right? So we go our separate ways. And now I'm like, well, fuck, man, we're not even really working now, right? I mean, everybody's locked the fuck down, right? So I decide, like, okay, well, I'm spending all the time I can with my kids. I'm savoring the hell out of that, right? Because you're just like, man, where does it, what's next, right? And so I guess we're talking a couple of years now. So roughly about May. Right. I start like, man, there's got to be people doing something, right? We're fucking locked down, right? Texas started loosening up pretty quick compared to everywhere else in the world, right? Yeah. So I find this group of fucking people on Facebook, and they're like, and keep in mind, dude, I ran a bunch in Dominican, but after the Dominican, I only ran about 8 to 10 miles at a time, several times. I ran a lot of 4 to 5 mile runs, but I got that swim down, and then COVID hit. And I kind of was like every other motherfucker. I was like, I'm just considering a bike trainer, can't do shit, right? And do a bunch of push-ups. And so get later, and then a buddy of mine says, dude, check this fucking group out. And I check it, and they're out in Lubbock and this Canyon Park or whatever. And they're like, hey man, we're gonna bring it back. We're gonna run 100, right? Who's in? This is very informal. We can't technically organize it, right? You're still not supposed to. Right. But we want to do this 100-mile run. Who's in? And we're talking, I guess he had sent it to me and I just didn't look at it like 6 or 8 weeks before. Mm-hmm. And then I look and I'm like, that motherfucker's in 2 weeks. Yeah, I think I'm going to do it. So I commit and say, I guess I'm going to Lubbock in 2 weeks.
Yeah, why not? Yeah. Why not? Just a short 100-mile run. No big deal. And this is straight. This is a straight 100-mile run. I mean, this isn't. How does that even work? Because a marathon takes what, average over 6 hours?
No, I mean my first one took me probably that, but I walked most of it. That was at the end of the Ironman. But by this point, I was pretty confident on. I mean, I still was, at this point, back then, I was still kind of an average runner at best, right? So, average time is probably 4.5 hours for a marathon. Again, I walked a good part of that. I'm pretty open about it. I was about surviving that fucking race, right, at my first Ironman. So the cutoff, I was believing the cutoff was 24 hours, but I even like went back and read some stuff, and it was 30 hours. I don't know where this fucking shit I got 24 hours at. I have no idea. I don't know, right? I have no idea. So in my mind, I got to do this shit in 24 hours, right? So travel out. My buddy's like, on the ride out, he's like, dude, I think I'm just gonna do the 50 miler. And I'm like, what the fuck? He's like, man, I've never run more than 26.2. And I'm like, all right, whatever. So I was like, well, I guess we'll figure it out, right? And 2 weeks, it took a bunch of food and water and all this shit out. It was on a 20-mile loop, right? Now, keep in mind, I've only ran 26.2 miles once, and that was at Ironman. And so I was like, okay, and I'm just doing the numbers in my head. And I'm like, yeah, man, I can do that, right? I mean, worst case, I can do it in 24 hours. I'm thinking, I can power walk and run and all this and go out there. And we go out, line up, and it's funny because I remember, and it was similar to what Goggins had said when he did his first one. Like, dude, he's out there looking like, these motherfuckers don't look like me, right? These are the big ones are 145 pounds, right? And at this point, 217 probably, right? So I'm like, and I'm 6 foot tall, right? So I'm like, yeah, man. And they're like, oh, are you here? And this one lady, she said, are you here for the 5K? There was no fucking 5K. And I said, no, I'm here for the 100-miler. And she said, like, haha, no, really, how far are you running?
Right.
And I said, okay. I was like, basically, and I get the community and I get the camaraderie, but I took that as, all right, motherfucker, we'll see.
Yeah. And
I remembered that the whole time, right? So we start this fucking god awful run, right? It's fucking hot. It's hot. It was about as miserable as you can imagine. And it was crazy because I was fine at the first marathon mark, right? And I remember thinking, I only have 3 more marathons to go. Now, keep in mind, that was only the second time I crossed a 26.2 mile fucking threshold, right? Mm-hmm. So then I start breaking this down into little pieces, right? I hydrate, I eat and everything. And dude, there's a reason it's called ultra when it goes over marathon distance, because the fucking minute I was past 27 miles, man, I had a world of suffering ahead of me that I wasn't fucking prepared for. Okay.
Yeah. I mean, let's just break this down real quick. And I don't know the exact science on it, but there's a reason that they do 26.2 miles in a marathon, right? Like, I think I read somewhere not long ago, they basically figured out that I don't want to say the average body, but the average body of a marathon runner can handle 26.2 miles. Anything after that, you're talking about things start to shut down. I mean, again, you can speak on this a hell of a lot better than I can, but there's a science behind why 26.2 miles is the mark. It's not 26.5. It's not, 26 flat. Like, that 26.2 is there for a reason, right?
Yeah, I want to believe, right? Or maybe all the science we have is because that's the most popular long distance run, right? I mean,
could be that as well. I mean, I don't know.
But I know this right here, man. I know once you cross 26.2, and then there's people that do it all the time, right? There's people that don't fucking run under 50 miles, right?
Yeah.
There's a lady I follow. She's running like 7,000 or 6,500 miles this year, right? So do the math on that. She's averaging fucking, 15, 20 miles a day. And every day I follow her on Twitter. She's like 30 miles done. She lives here. I want to go cheer her on. Right. She's a fucking attorney, right? So she's got a job, right? So she's, again, just somebody, extraordinary. So I crossed the 27-mile mark, and I remember distinctly thinking, what the fuck just happened? So now, man, I'm fucking like, oh man, maybe I'm just going to run 50K, which is 32 miles, right? 31 and a half, whatever. So I fucking stumble on and stuff. I get to that part, and I remember somebody saying, you don't look so good. So I'm doing everything I know to do to get, I'm like, I don't know what the fuck's going on, man. And it was weird. Physical pain doesn't fucking do it justice, right? It was, my brain didn't want to work. It's what it felt like. My brain quit working. So I was like, all I can do is, all right, just fucking move forward, right? I don't know why I can't swallow water. I don't know why I can't fucking eat. I don't know. But I mean, I feel like I'm dead already. So fuck it, keep going, right?
Right.
I can't tell you, and I now like I mean, I haven't thought about this a lot in the last year probably, but I remember I felt like I blanked at 33 miles, and then I think I remember crossing 50, right? And I remember thinking, I don't remember a whole lot between that. So now I crossed 50, 51, 52, and I'm like, okay, I'm a double fucking marathon distance. And next thing I know, I was like, I'm good now. I'm like, so I remember thinking, I was like, well, fuck my hydration. I think so. Do the math. I'm midway through the loop, right?
Right.
I check my hydration and my food packet, all my stuff, and it's fucking full. So I don't know when the last time I've taken a drink of water was. I'm like, well,
Right.
fuck, man. It was the weirdest thing, right? I come out of this crazy fog, and I was like, I'm fine. Fuck, I'm good. And I don't know how. I don't know the science behind it. I don't know why. It makes no sense. And if somebody else told me this before, I'd said, you're full of shit, right? So I start drinking again, start fucking eating. I come back around, I'm at the 60-mile mark, right? And 60 miles is no bitch, right? Now I'm getting real close to 100K, which is what, 63-ish, whatever. And I come to the finish line. I come to the starting finish area, and I see that fucking lady that made that fucking comment. Now, keep in mind, she's 20 fucking miles ahead of me.
Right.
But she looks like shit.
Right.
Now I see fucking ghosts in her eyes, right? The way I must have looked for the fucking previous 17 miles or 20, 17 miles before the last 8 or whatever.
Right.
So I fell off, and I'm like, hey, I was like, you don't look so well. Right. And then nobody talks shit in an office. And I wasn't talking shit, but I was like, motherfucker, and dude, here's the crazy part, man. On a fucking 20-mile loop, you don't see motherfuckers, dude. It's wild. You're by your fucking self, man. And I remember getting there, and I thought that she was there. She's 20 fucking miles ahead of me. She's a serious fucking ultra runner.
Yeah.
But she doesn't look well. She fucking stammers off. She looks like she shit herself. I mean, dude, that's common. I've never done it. I don't know how I've never done it, but I've never done it. Right. She looks bad, right? She hobbles off. And I remember, and now I'm looking for fucking strength any way I can get it. And I'm taking strength in her fucking pain. And I'm like, oh yeah, motherfucker, this is great, right? So I go out for my 60 to 80. She's on 80 to 100. Dude, I fucking pass her, and I look back, and she's so far. I lose her, bro. I can't see her behind me, right? Now it's kind of hilly, so that, but in my mind, she's not going to finish, and I am. So I get to the 72-mile mark, and I'm fucking strong. And then, boom, I'm not strong again, right? And I remember thinking, dude, get to the fucking finish, the aid station area. And they've got aid stations set up about every 4 or 5 miles. But, dude, I got to one, there was nothing there. There was no water, right? They'd gone to get more water or something. And I'm like, oh, fuck, I need water, right?
Right.
So at that 72-mile mark, I remember thinking, dude, I'm 8 miles away, and I'm done. I am fucking done. Right? So I've got 8 miles. I don't know how the fuck I get to the 8-mile mark, right? There's no fucking doctors or anything out here, dude. This is not fucking sanctioned or set up by anything, right? There's no sponsorships. There's fucking no crowds because everybody still thinks they're going to die of COVID.
Right.
I get back to the 80-mile mark, right? And now, dude, and I fucking have no recollection, but I know I filled my shit up, or somebody filled it up for me. But those motherfuckers let me run, bro. And which is crazy. We all signed something saying we're fucking on our own, right? This is just a kind of a meetup, right?
Right.
So I take off again. Dude, I don't know how the fuck I left that aid station. I don't know. I don't remember shit. And then I remember it was 92 fucking miles. And I'm thinking, I just got 8 more miles to go. Now, at this point, dude, I have run 8 miles like twice since Ironman.
Right.
I mean, probably 5 times, right?
Right.
And I'm still thinking, that's it. I fucking got it. Wide awake, fucking sober as a judge, drinking water, talking to motherfuckers now, right? Because now we're starting to kind of somehow bunch up, right? And I'm out there easing on. And then 97, 98, dude, I don't know where the fuck I'm at. I'm delusional. I fucking, again, I can't drink water. My brain fog is out, bro. And I'm gonna choke up here, man, because that lady that I fucking hated, she came back to get me. She goes, I'm gonna get you home. Because her thing was, is the big guy still out here?
Right.
And they're like, yeah, he's fucking on the course. So she comes back out, probably mile 97, 98. She goes, let's go. And I remember she's like, what's your favorite song? Right? She's talking to me. And I'm like, dude, I don't know fucking anything. My eyes are dried out, not like they are right now, right?
Right.
My fucking throat doesn't work. She's like, let's sing it. And I remember we sang Cat Stevens' Wild World, which is not my favorite song, but I was like, nah, 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 nah. It's all I can fucking do, right? So we get to 99 and a half. I look down at my Garmin and I'm at the half mile mark to the fucking thing. You can see the fucking finish, bro. I look down at my Garmin. My math is fucked up because I've gone totally off the fucking rails. And I said, oh, fuck, I missed a half mile. I know I'm going to be a mile short. And I turned around to go back the other direction. She's like, what the fuck are you doing? And I said, I've got to go back. So for a half mile in the other direction, she's like, no, let's go. She understands, dude, I don't have fucking much left.
Right.
I go down this fucking trail. She cannot drag me. She's 100 fucking pounds, maybe a skeleton. So I fucking go back a half mile. In my mind, I realize I'm a mile away, but now my Garmin says 100. I'm like, okay, fuck, I'm good. So I turned around, ran the last mile in about 13 and a half minutes, did 101 miles.
Jesus Christ.
And it made perfect sense to me. But then I couldn't figure out, well, why did I do 101 miles? So,
that's,
yeah,
the intensity in that is insane. And I would love to know the sciences behind what happens to the body when you hit that kind of mileage, what your body's going through, why it's shutting off, because your brain does things to protect your body, right? When you start talking about you blacked out, you don't remember 12 miles, on several occasions.
Yeah.
I mean, there's a whole lot going on there, but neither one of us are doctors, so not going to pretend to go down that road. But you compete in something, you complete something that again, we go back to this all the time, man, doing something that you're not sure or you don't think that you can do. And you bring up Goggins. I mean, he talks about it all the time. Your mind's a hell of a lot more stronger and a lot more powerful than your body will ever be. But a lot of people never test that. I think about that when I'm running. I think about that whenever I'm lifting. Like, am I pushing it to that mark? Am I actually giving what I can give in this moment? And I think, and you can talk on this, when you start to open your mind up to those possibilities, it starts to change how you do everything else. It starts to shift how you see just everyday life, from how you do your job to your relationships that you have, right? Everything, I feel like everything starts to slow down a little bit, even, as much as it can speed up, right? Because you get into this thing and it's consuming you, you're obsessed with it, but it almost starts to slow these things down where you appreciate it a bit more, right? The conversations are deeper. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, man. Yeah. So it was wild too, though, right? So that's when I realized, like, dude, listen, look, if once you fucking decide you can do something, there's no need with all this bullshit story we tell ourselves, like, well, I'm going to train next year and do a fucking marathon or whatever. Let's go fucking do it. Sign up, figure that shit out. Once you commit, it's amazing when you're just like, motherfucker, I'm going to do it, right? And I'm not some fucking insanely athletic freak, right? I'm better than average now, but I wasn't then. Still at this point, right? I'm still not this fucking great runner at this point. So I do that. And the funny thing was, they're like, hey, we're doing it again in 6 weeks. I'm like, I'm fucking in. I'm in. So I drag another friend out with me. And I want that guy to go just run the fucking, they had a half marathon group, right? I want him to do that because he's not a runner. He goes and does that, dude. I do it. And I had a little blackout phase in there, but I fucking ran. I mean, it was nowhere near because I'd already done it. So I knew, right? Now, I also knew there's going to be fucking points. Dude, I had blisters. I had shit going on that I don't even talk about, right? I mean, that's a whole other thing. Dude, my toenails never recovered, ever. They're all fucked up, right? Whatever. So I do the second time, right? Same thing. And now I'm like, man, I'm fucking kind of missing life. Go forward. There ain't shit happening. You can't do anything in 2020, right? Everything's fucking canceled, right? 21 rolls around. Pretty quick in 21, I realized, hey, the Ironman's going to race, right? Now I want to fucking commit to racing, right? But I'm like, yeah, fuck, man. And they start canceling races early. I'm like, man. So I'm training like I'm about to race. And now in my mind, motherfucker, I'm going to go. My goal is to go sub 11 hours on one, right? I'm going to put down a respectable fucking time on one, right? So I start doing everything the way I have a real training cycle, right? I sign up for Ironman Cozumel, decide I'm going to spend about 15 days in Cozumel in November, fucking racing Ironman, have a vacation, have a good time, right? Go through 2021 at this point, right? There's still, fucked up shit going on in the world and everything. And I did catch COVID in December of 20, right? And it was mild. The only reason I knew I had it is because everybody I fucking worked with got really fucked up, but I was fine. But I tested positive. I'm pretty certain I had it. I didn't have taste or smell for fucking like 6 weeks, but I had nothing else. So I was okay, but I didn't get to spend Christmas with my daughter, right? That was kind of shitty. I had to sit in the house like a dumbass by myself, right? So I'm fine. I'm doing some fucking crazy shit in 21, right? I was like, hey, I need to find out how I'm going to handle freaking the ocean, right? I didn't really find out. So I go to Puerto Rico, start swimming there, dude, swam over a fucking reef. It tore me up, right? I mean, I shredded my legs. I was like, well, all right, well, that's something I need to be aware of, right? But I just kept training, kept training, kept putting miles in, and everything's started to become real fucking easy to me, right? It's when I kind of realized I can absolutely go sub 5 on the bike. I know I can go, closer to fucking 4 on a marathon. Now I feel like, I'm like, and fuck it, I've already finished, right? So I'll go all out. And if I don't fucking do it, if I blow up and don't finish, big fucking deal. I was racing this time. Now my mind has shifted, dude. It ain't about finishing, it's about racing. August hits and I started feeling bad, dude, for like a week. And I couldn't shake it. I'd sweat for hours after I'd run. I was exhausted. My heart rate was all fucked up. And a buddy of mine, we went to lunch, and the next day he wakes up sick as shit. He's like, brother, I got COVID. He goes, you need to get checked. He'd just been to Mexico. And then so I go get checked, and I've got it. And I'm just tired, right? And he's convinced he gave it to me. And I'm like, nah, dude, I fucking been carrying this shit. I didn't think it's what it was, right? Because first I already had it. I thought, well, I probably can't get it again. Dude, 2 days later, fucking hit, and it fucking flattened me, bro. My heart rate was sitting at about 130, and I'm sitting there on the bed, it's 130. So I was like, nah, fuck this. And this is where my mindset is fucking like, nah, man, I'm not fucking slowing. I'm racing in goddamn November. I don't care about COVID. So my stupid ass, I get like an inch better, I'm like, okay, I feel okay. So I go out, fuck it. This is August in Texas. I go out, it's 105 degrees. I go ahead and knock down a quick 15 miles after having fucking COVID. Come back, I feel great, no sweating. Fucking next morning, I wake up, my lungs feel like I've died, right? So now my lungs are full of fucking, I end up with pneumonia, right? So that fucked me up for several weeks, right? So I realized pretty quick, I was like, well, I don't care about just fucking racing. I don't care about going and just finishing, right? And I was like, I'd rather not spend the fucking money or get stuck in Mexico and not be able to come back because of a fucking lockdown or some shit, right? Because it started surging again. So I deferred Cozumel to this year, 2022. Okay. After all that, I was kind of like, man, we don't fucking care, man. I mean, I want to race, but it's not that big of a deal to me, right? Now, at this point, keep in mind, I still haven't really gotten on social media a whole lot, right? I mean, I'd get on and argue about fucking people being idiots about COVID, college football, we talked about it before. Dude, I didn't use social media for anything good, right? So I kind of started, I just started like in November. I finally felt 100%, bro. I finally felt like, man, I'm not fucking dying, right? So But I kept training, even though I was fucking way sub, what I needed to be. And so then come the first of the year, I was like, all right, damn it. Listen, I just put down all these miles. It's when I kind of started figuring out I'm really fucking good on the bike now. So it's time to start that. I need to find something to do. I'm like, well, fuck it. I mean, I've got COVID. I've got Cozumel in November. Let's do something fucking awesome for this race, right? I really believe, I think I can go closer to fucking 10 hours now, right? In my mind, right? But I'm like, there's got to be something else though, right? So I'm like, that's when, in February. So I'm fucking miserable at my job. I absolutely fucking hate it. I get on and I decide in February, first off, a lot of stuff just started changing here for me. So I decide, number one, I'm just going to get on social media and talk about the shit I'm doing, right? I'm going to talk about this training. I'm going to talk about this right here. And I've got receipts, I can post all my shit, right?
Right.
Number two, dude, I don't know what I'm going to do, but by March 16th, 2023, I'm fucking done working is the second thing. I'm out. I'm leaving my career by then. So at this point, we're 13 months. Number three, Cozumel's not big enough for me, right? I need to find something else in the meantime, right? So started number three first. I got online and I started looking, what the fuck can I do? I mean, what sticks out to me? And that's when I found out they're doing Waco, Ironman Waco and Waco 70.3 on consecutive days. And that's in my backyard. That's 3 hours south of me, right?
Right.
I'm like, well, hold on a minute. I get to do, it's a logistical nightmare to do an Ironman and half Ironman in the same town, the same weekend, right? So there's not a lot of chances, a lot of opportunities to do it. So I'm deciding like, okay, yeah, man, let me sign up for this. Let me go ahead and sign up for both of them, right? So I reach out to the Ironman Foundation. You see my shirt here. I'm a member of the Ironman Foundation. And I was like, hey, is this an IMF race? I mean, if it is, I'll do it with the Ironman Foundation.
Right.
And they're like, well, yeah, it is. But I can't, I mean, they were like, yeah, it is. But aren't you a veteran? I'm like, yeah, what the fuck does that have anything to do with anything? They're like, would you be interested in being the Gold Star Initiative rep? And I was like, I guess. I didn't know what it was, right? And they're like, well, what it is you hold the flag for the national anthem. During the festivities of the week, you spend time with a Gold Star family. I knew what Gold Star family meant. It's a family that's lost someone, military service member. Now that could be in combat, it could be suicide, right? It's somebody that's, that's lost some, an active duty military member. And I said, so you hold the flag during the national anthem, you give it to somebody, you start the race. Before you get to run, you take the flag. It is a full-size American flag, right? And you run the run with it. At the end of the race, you present it to a Gold Star family, right? And I was like, fuck yeah, yes. And they're like, okay, which race do you want to do? Which race do you want to be the Gold Star rep? I said, I'm going to do it for fucking both. And he's like, are you sure? Now, let me clarify here. Dude, I don't like running with a bottle of water. I hate carrying shit. I hate it. But I figured, dude, I'm the guy that cries when they play the national anthem. Those old cheesy country songs about, Billy Ray Cyrus, Some Gay Ball, and 19, and Should Have Seen It in Color. Man, all those songs, dude, I tear up on those songs, right? Yeah. Being a veteran, I've lost a lot of friends, right? And I've lost a lot of friends that, I grew up with that went out to serve. I lost friends that, in the military. I lost friends. I was a contractor in Baghdad. We lost a lot of people. So I figured this, man. Yeah, I don't like carrying shit when I run, right? But first off, that flag means more to me than just about anything else. And the opportunity to show a Gold Star family that, dude, we appreciate you. Because I'm going to be uncomfortable for 2 fucking days. I'm going to be miserable. I understand that, right? But they're going to be heartbroken for the rest of their lives. So I figured look, man, my thing is I tell people, don't be a pussy, right? If I can't suffer for 2 fucking days to get that flag to that finish line and give it to that family, I have no right to ever tell anyone else, don't be a pussy.
Right. Yeah. I mean, that's, there's nothing I can say to that isn't already there, you know? And that's, I mean, that's a big thing that, you know, it'd be amazing if people looked at what they were doing in and day out in that light, you know what I'm saying? When that service, that heart of the servant is really there, you know, to say, I'm doing this not because it's going to cause me problems, not because it's going to be, you know, something for me. It's legitimately, you're doing that just to show some kind of gratitude, some kind of appreciation. You know, a lot of people will stand up and say, you know, we appreciate the servicemen and women, you know, but when it comes down to the action, isn't there? You know what I mean? Because I'll say, not to go down this rabbit hole, but you talk about friends being lost, and you know, whether it's from combat, whether it's from suicide, post combat, they're coming home and they're on their own. You know, there's not enough being done directly in ways for these guys and these women to find the help necessary for answering a call that I think we're part of. Like, what is it, maybe just over 1% of the country answers that call, and even further less than that are combat veterans, you know? So again, I can't say anything that makes what you've said any more poignant and any more important than what it is. That said, Waco, it's coming up. You're carrying the flag. You've not just signed up for it to go do it. You've now built a community, essentially, that there's going to be a lot of motherfuckers rolling out to Waco.
Yeah.
Tell us, because it's not just you carrying the flag. A lot of people would go, man, that's big enough. I'm doing my thing. Like, I'm going above and beyond. You then still said there's got to be more.
Yeah, man. So going back to February, man, I just shared that message, right? And just said, here's what I'm going to do. And doing a 1.5. And that's when, I mean, dude, to back up, I got banned from a fucking Peloton message group in 2019 for I got banned, bro. I couldn't use Peloton. I couldn't sign in the service because a lady was crying about having a 9-to-5 job and having to go to happy hours and stuff. I was like, don't be a pussy. Quit making excuses. Right. I got banned from that community, which is fucking hilarious now, but I was pissed off because I had a Peloton. I want to ride my Peloton. I ended up selling a Peloton for like $2,000 more than I bought it for during COVID. So, but this time I had a bike, right? So fuck them, right?
Right.
So now, man, I was like, you know what? And I'm like, I just like, hey, I don't be a pussy. That was where it started. It was my message, right? And people, it was weird because, yeah, man, there's these, you know, these little bitches that are like, you can't tell people that. Yes, I can. Number one. Number two, like, I'm just being me now. I'm not fucking getting on here, and I'm not, hey, drink 2 gallons of water a day and take 10,000 steps and you barely really don't have to work out. No, man, that's bullshit, dude. Society has fucking become so weak that people are afraid to suffer, right? And I just watched the fucking world shut down because people were worried about a fucking invisible virus that you could not fucking stop. So we stopped living. And it fucking made me upset, right? And I was like, you know what, man? I will never be the slave of a fucking company to tell me you can't go earn a living, right? I'm like, I'm going to earn a fucking living. So I just started spreading my message, man. I was like, you know what? I'm going to commit best way I know how. I'm just going to get on social media and fucking talk. I'll put videos up and fucking talk and rant. I'm going to share what I'm doing. I'll put everything out there, right? I'm transparent as all get out. And then a couple of people took notice, right? They said, you got to follow this fucking guy, right? So like overnight, I went from like 1,200 followers to 4,000, you know? Mm-hmm. And then people started, you know, and like I said, I used to own a gym. I've trained fucking professional athletes. You know, I've worked, I've trained all types of people. People are reaching out, man. Like, hey, man, how much you charge me to train me? Just, I need accountability more than anything. I need you to call me and tell me, don't be a bitch, right? And I was like, okay, well, you know, here's what I do. I was like, I'm a busy ass man, you know, as a corporate world. So if I do it, I'm like, my thought is, I'm going to yeah, fuck it, I'm gonna get paid for it. People were like, deal, how do I get you your money? I'm like, fuck, I didn't think anybody'd say it right, I didn't know. So now I thought, well, damn, man, this is like March, April. I'm like, dude, by November, I'm fucking done, right? And then I hit like 5,000 followers. And then I'm like, yeah, shit, man, maybe by July. And then one day it was like, you know what? I'm telling motherfuckers, don't be a pussy. What am I waiting on? Right? I fucking felt like I cannot fucking do this. I can't say that if I'm not 100% in every part of my life, right? I can't say, hey, wait a minute, dude, I've got a big ass house here. So first I decide I'm going to get rid of all my shit, right? I don't, because it's just me. My kids are here. My son's almost 18. My daughter's here part-time. I'm like, dude, I'm getting rid of all my shit. I'm going to sell this house while the fuck there's still a market before it collapses, right? I got just 4,100 square foot house on 1.6 acres in Dallas, right? I know the fucking home's value, right? So I'm like, I'm getting rid of this. I'm selling all my shit, dude. I've walked through this house and shown the house. I'm selling everything. I'm like, I don't need this shit, right? One thing I realized during COVID was I missed experiences. And I got all this stuff and I'm like, what's it for? This is like a big giant mausoleum, right? All this shit in it, right? I chased money my entire life. And I could fucking tell you anything about the fucking Porsches I've had and all that shit. I can't tell you anything about it. I know the colors, right? But I know I can tell you about that fucking first Ironman I did. I know I can tell you about running 100 miles. I know I can tell you about spending vacations with my children. So I decided, you know what? My little girl's still young enough, selling all my shit, right? That brings a fucking bigger following. So then people are like, fuck, man, you've got me inspired. This is kind of what I want to do. Man, I need to do something physical too, man, down the road. So it started with Caleb Arthur, Traps King. Dude, he said some shit like that. I didn't know that guy's mad at him, man. I just fucking sent him over the Waco sign up page. Within like 2 fucking minutes, this guy sends me his freaking confirmation back. Now he's a big fucking dude.
He is a big dude.
He signs up for 70.3 and I'm like, what the fuck? So then like a day or two later, fucking DT signs up for it and he sends me the thing. And then it's like these just random people that I don't even know follow me. I've never spoken to them or communicated with them. Start signing up, right? Start just all in.
Yeah.
So then like the head coach for McNeese State University, John Aiken, he fucking signs up. He's like, I'm in, bro, I'm in. So now, I mean, we've got somewhere in the neighborhood of fucking 20 people showing up, signing up, running this race with me. So now, man, dude, I've got that, you know, that whole freaking, you know, the Gold Star Initiative thing that that's enough to motivate anybody, right?
Right.
But now, man, I got a fucking tribe of guys showing up that are going to be there, dude. And I've got other people that I've met that are either A, racing, you know, just soon thereafter, they're going to come up and support us, or B, just people that I've become friends with, like Dookie Butter, Mikkel. Yeah. He's coming over, man. He and I've hung out a couple times now. So, I mean, this has led into, I've had the opportunity now to meet, I mean, in the last, I posted, I think I retweeted it today, meet Twitter people in real life. Man, I've got like 20, 25 legitimate friends. The people I call my closest friends are dudes I've met through fucking Twitter, through this. Because what I realized was, man, we've always been locked into our geographic circle, right? So to find when I started this growth, right? When I started this, like, motherfucker, I don't have limits. I'm unbreakable. It's hard to find that in your fucking group, right? But then I got out and I started to, I was like, all right, there got to be out there. David Goggins talks about finding uncommon men amongst uncommon. And he had trouble with that going to special forces, thinking they're uncommon. And it was like, you know what? But once you're with all that, you become common, right? So hanging out with a bunch of fucking Ironman triathletes, it was crazy. And I was like, man, I got to do something bigger. And they're like, well, I mean, to them, they couldn't fucking fathom it. So they're like, oh, wait a minute. Why would you go do more? I mean, why don't you just worry about qualifying for Kona? I'm like, I don't give a fuck about that, right? This ain't a part. I do this shit because it's hard. I don't do it because I give a fuck about beating you. I'm just beating the guy I was yesterday, 6 months ago. And that mindset, see, I rubbed some of those fuckers wrong. But dude, then I meet all these fucking guys that think very fucking similar to the way I do. And it has provided me more growth. They're always complimenting and telling me shit, but I can't put into words Like now, motherfucker, I gotta be up. I get up and I start posting my shit in the morning. Dude, if I'm not fucking up at 4 a.m. ready to work out, I got Daniel's bitch ass in Kentucky. Where you at? Where you at? Like, hey, stupid ass, you're in the Eastern time zone. I'm in the Central time zone. But anyway, dude, it gets my ass out of bed. So now I've got like, dude, they're counting on you. They're going to fuck with you if you don't go out and do this, right? So it has elevated my game to a level that, dude, it hasn't raised my ceiling. It's lifted my floor up, right? So now I'm like, dude, this fucking Ironman, I mean, it's done. It's 210.9 miles. I have no fear of that, right? Can I fucking do it? Let's be 100% legitimate. I think so. I've never fucking done it. I don't know, right? So, I mean, again, but dude, here's the deal. I mean, I've got, dude, how can I not do it? That's the way I'm looking now. I've got fucking a team of 20, 25. I don't know. Ironman's not paying me for this. They need to.
Right. I was going to say, man, you need to be collecting some kind of check for the number of people you got signing up for this stuff. And that's the beauty. And I have this conversation because, dude, literally a year and a half ago, I was sitting there on my computer going, I'm deleting social media. I'm done with it. Like there's no fucking point. It causes more harm than good because I was using it wrong. I wasn't looking at it for the opportunities and the things that I didn't know about it. And it's an amazing thing. You brought it up and I'm glad you did that. You talk about the guys that you're friends with now, that you're calling closest friends. If it wasn't for social media, if it wasn't for Twitter and some of these other spaces, you have no fucking clue they exist because they're not in that geographic radius that you're talking about of people that you can come in actual physical contact with. And since I started this stuff, guys like you, guys that like Redmond and the Zach Smalls of the world, they become guys that I look at and go, shit, I better be up too.
Yeah.
I mean, I better be putting the work in because I know they are. And I bring up Zach intentionally because he's about my size, right? We figured out we're about the same height, we're kind of the same build. And, we talked about the gym. I'm like, I can't have him being in better shape than me. Like I got to fucking put the work in because I know he is. And, from a work standpoint, as far as the podcast, I think about things that you say sometimes. Yeah, I see that DBAP pop up, which is something that, again, I noticed that evolution, right? I remember when I first started seeing you with the videos. And then I remember the first day I saw you say, don't be a pussy, hashtag DBAP. Let's start the movement. I was like, oh, fuck, Boyd's onto something. Because some people, they're going to look at that and they're going to be offended. But the right ones will look at that and they'll understand it's not about the words, it's about the mentality. It's not that you're calling somebody, unless you have to.
Yeah.
Pussy.
And I do.
Hey, shake that fucking mentality, right? Yeah, and absolutely. And as you should. And that's what we're missing, dude. Like we're missing a society where you could go to somebody and say, hey, you're being a bitch. If I respect you, shit, even if I don't, and somebody were to say that to me, I'd go, ah, fuck, am I?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, you should. Right? I say this a lot, right? And this is what drove me fucking crazy, right? Is like, at first, man, I knew when I said it, I was going to lose some people. But man, I knew the ones that stayed, boy, that's a tribe, right? They get it, right?
Yeah, that's
and I was 100% okay with shedding that fucking dead weight. And I see these, and you hear me, see me, these platitude guys, dude, they fucking hate me because I know when they fucking see my shit, and I know like soon after, like a minute later, they're posting like there's no pride in running in the heat and this and this. And I'm like, nah, man, nah, son, fuck that. There is pride, right? And it's not about going out and being stupid, okay? Right. My heart is not your heart, is not anybody else's heart. But it is about saying, I got a fucking commitment to myself to be better and to become stronger. If I'm worried about the fucking heat, what am I going to do when fucking life really kicks me in the ass, right? So look, I get it. I could get on here and I could post fucking all about vitamin D and magnesium and fucking zinc and getting 10,000 steps and no need to work out more than 3 times a week. But dude, that's all those things will fucking make you 100% average. Oh, you got to have 8 hours of sleep. Dude, I was up at midnight fucking tweeting. I was tweeting at 4 a.m. this morning. Dude, I was working, I was doing stuff, man. I was like, man, I don't have fucking time to fucking sleep my life away, right? My mind starts going, I got to get to fucking work. right? If you want to sleep and dream, that's fucking great. But my dreams are too goddamn big to stay in that bed all the time, right? So listen, yeah, I get it. And it's a popular message because it says, hey, you can still be comfortable. You don't have to worry. That's the fucking problem. You're in the condition you're in because you've been comfortable for too damn long. And it drives me crazy. So I don't give a fuck about followers. I don't care about that shit. Motherfucker, I'm not that platitude guy. I'm not going to be fucking Dan Go with 200,000 followers telling people like, I don't know if these motherfuckers work out. I don't think most of them do, right? I'm not going to be on there fucking crying because I went out and tried to walk up the street and I fucking smoked too much goddamn weed and I choked myself out. That Jason Helms guy, dude, he can do that. Be nice, be sweet. It's fucking cute, right? But dude, I'm sure the average motherfucker, the sub-average motherfucker can get a lot from those people like that, right? That's not me, man. It's simple, right? You can be fucking obsessed or you can be fucking average or worse, right? And that there's no real in between, man. The world needs intensity and it needs focus. And people have got to stop being fucking pussies because we have become a weak society and we are rapidly deteriorating because we've allowed people to become so weak, and weak men have created what are sure to come hard times.
Absolutely. And that's something that I touch on that is kind of in that same vein of, we talked a lot already on this podcast, and so much of it is about mentality, right? Everything that's being said right now is mentality, right? Mentality. And I look at the dad bod craze. To me, that's a mentality. It's not the actual physical appearance. Like, yeah, we can break that down and all that, but it's the mentality of going, hey, it's okay that you're average. And that's why, like, I get it. Look, don't get us wrong right now. You have to start somewhere, right? If you need to do that 10,000 steps a day to get going, fine. But get going. But then understand that if you really want to achieve, you have got to then go after that. Okay, I've got to the 10,000 steps. I can do that regularly. That's not a fucking lot, man. Like, I probably reach 10,000 steps just being on the fucking phone every day. You know what I mean? Like, that's not hard. For me, it's not, because I'm not carrying 200 extra pounds of overweightness, right? So, but once you get there, you've got to go on to the next thing. I just talked to Don Hickman last night on the podcast. He's wearing a shirt that says "Comfort Kills." I'm going, fuck yeah, it does. Because what this is, the guys you're talking about, the Jason Helms of the world, the guys are saying, no, you need your 8 hours. You need to, only work out 3 times a week. What they're selling is mediocrity. What they're selling is a safe space. And people are so afraid, especially nowadays. How dare you identify me? How dare you tell me that my truth is not my truth? We don't want to hear that. We've got to stay in our comfort zone. Everybody has to have their little comfort zone. And if you penetrate that, you're a fucking bigot, you're a narcissist, you're a piece of shit, get out of this space. You're not a good person.
Yeah.
This is why your message resonates with so many people. I guarantee you could tell me right now that you had planned to do this, that this was all part of your scheme to be in this spot. Yeah. Bullshit. And I know, and you and I both know that's not the case. This is an extra layer to what you started doing back in that very first time you stepped out to try to run, that now became your fucking responsibility, man. This is your responsibility because you believe in God or not. They said, hey, your shoulders are meant to carry this shit, Boyd. And you can either put it down like a bitch or you can save people's lives. And that's the way I see this. That's why your story is something I want not once, not twice, but several times on my podcast, because the people that fucking listen, I guarantee you they go, Justin, shut up. Let Boyd talk. Let Boyd talk. That's what we want to hear. You haven't run 100 miles. Your mentality is not there yet. But that's why this is here, because that's my responsibility. That's my role. When I started this going, hey, there's people that need to hear this fucking shit. And if I can provide a platform where they can find the Boydmyers of the world, that's what we got to do. I got 2 podcasts today. I don't want to fucking do it. I didn't want to get up this morning. I got to work at 9. I got a podcast that's supposed to start right now. And here we are. But we're going to do it. Why? Because I can't think of anything better.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? With the exception of spending time with my kid, my oldest son's birthday is today. He turns 15.
Happy birthday.
Yeah. So we're going to be doing that up. So, I mean, it's a full fucking day. It's a full fucking day. So I do, with that said, I think it's a good spot to say, hey, we're going to have to wrap this up.
Absolutely.
But correct me if I'm wrong, but you and Chris have taken it a step further.
Yeah.
You guys have something you're putting together that I'm fucking stoked that you guys are doing this. I think men need this. So I'll let you do the intro and tell us about it real quick.
Yeah, man. So we decided, like, dude, the Iron Man mindset's a different thing, right? I don't know how we're not branding it as that, because I'm sure Iron Man would come for a fucking cut. Man, Chris is a 10-time Iron Man, right? He is an athlete like I fucking can't. I mean, that motherfucker's good, right? He's fast, right? So just he and I when he lost his job, the guy's a physical therapist. I was the first person he called, and that freaking really touched me, that he called me before he called and told his wife. It's like, hey man, don't post this shit yet.
His wife loves to hear that.
Yeah. So he called me, and then I was like, dude, it's awesome. I was like, man, what a fucking opportunity. Right. So he and I have grown pretty close. And we decided, like, man, men need this in this space, right? So let's combine what we have. Dude, we already got fucking 100,000 people signed up for Waco. We filled the place up. So, man, let's have a fucking camp, right? He lives in South Carolina. We just pretty quick put it together. This guy calls me and says, hey, I just put a deposit down on the spot. Let's get 10 guys. And I'm like, okay. So it's going to be triathlon camp for all levels. Anybody that's just interested in, man, we're going to have all levels. We'll have the opportunity to swim short or swim long, but we're going to go over all the basics. Dude, I did my first one not knowing all the shit about, like, we talked about the logistical nightmare of it. I didn't know any of that shit until I did it. So we're going to kind of cover all that, but also, more importantly, we're going to bring like-minded men together as part of a tribe to hang out and just get to know one another, to just experience each other, and man, and just grow together, man. And I think that's what it's about, because I think that has a long-term ripple effect. Once you're physically in a space together, it becomes, for the lack of a better word, spiritual. So yeah, we'll help some guys freaking immensely. I'm going to learn from Chris. I'm going to absorb that guy from an Ironman standpoint, but I cannot wait to meet some of the guys that are coming out to Clemson, South Carolina, and to hang out with us.
And that's you said September, right?
September 8th through 11th. Yes, sir.
September 8th through 11th. Man, I got to tell you, that's something that I feel guys need massively. Women are really great about putting these retreats together, right? That's and right. I know there's stuff out there for guys. A lot of it, I feel like somebody's going to correct me for being wrong, but a lot of times it's through church. A lot of times it's these men's retreats through church, all well and good. But I'll tell you right now, I believe, and I'm going down this path, from schooling of, I think one of the best ways you want to reach a guy from a psychological standpoint. We start talking about therapy. Get him around a fire with other dudes. It's that campfire mentality. I think it's a strong way to start helping guys really open up to who they are, listening to other guys share their stories, and then they start to share theirs. And I think there's a movement there. I think there's power in that, right? Because no alpha male, no real self-respecting man. And I don't want to put it that way, because I have my feelings on being able to emote what you're thinking and what you're doing and what you're feeling. It's massively important. And we've been led astray from a very early age on how to deal with these things. But get them in a spot where they can open up, right? They don't want to sit on a couch and say, hey, this is how I'm feeling.
Right.
They want to hear that another guy's experienced it. Another guy's dealt with something maybe even bigger, to get that validation. Like, hey, I'm still a man, but we're dealing with some shit. And now I can put myself into this group and go, oh yeah, here's a path I can get on. And I say this to kind of tie everything up. And, you can hear us rant and rave, and you can read Boyd's, Twitter posts. The underlying current here is that there was a passion that was found that consumed. And in that consumption, it became a healthy, life-saving ordeal. It saved your life. It's saving other men's lives. And because of that passion, it's opened up doors that would have never opened up had you not just pursued it, but relentlessly and obsessively, as people will put it. But the people that say obsessive, they don't understand what it means to follow a passion. They don't understand what it means to go all in. They're afraid of it because it doesn't feel comfortable. So with that said, Boyd, man, I love talking to you, brother. I love what you're doing. And I mean that from the bottom of my heart. Obviously, I've reached out to you on multiple occasions. My hope is that I'm going to be able to get up to Waco. and be able to support this. I've got some other friends that are coming down to do it as well from my hometown up in Oklahoma. But this podcast is going to go out, and I'll have all the links necessary for people to find you, for people to find me as well. That said, I like to end these on this. I'm not trying to be Joe Rogan. I'm not trying to make millions of dollars off this podcast. Now, if it goes that way, fantastic. I'm not going to say no to that fucking money. But the reality of this is, if you're listening to this and you've taken the time to sit here for the hour and a half and take in what Boyd has said, you now have a call to action. You've got a fucking responsibility now. Do not put this down and go back to living your life normal like you did an hour and a half ago. Fucking step up. If it's you that needs it, if it's you that's missing something, fucking reach out. If you don't reach out, fine. Go find that thing that you need to do, whether it's Ironman, whether it's you fucking go take a guitar lesson class, whatever it is, you now have a call to action. If you know somebody that's struggling, we've talked about veterans, we've talked about suicide, we've talked about alcohol addiction in some ways, or an addiction of whatever, reach out to that person, send them this way. There's a platform here that is not being utilized enough. We've already said that social media can be something that is life draining, or it can be something that is life changing. So if you listen to this, you now have a call to action. If you want to, you can subscribe to hear more messages like this, guys like Boyd, these other men in the world that are working tirelessly to bring a change that is desperately needed. This is Navigating Intentional Life. I am Justin Copeland. I appreciate you for listening. Stay safe. Take care. Until next time.